Hi, I'm Christian Wisanjaya. In this video, I want to talk about my assignment 1. The first one is the web service. I added Flask functionalities inside the object detection.py file. So I imported all the necessary libraries. And so basically, it accepts post requests. When a request is received, it decodes the JSON data containing an image and a unique ID. It then processes the image for object detection. So this is the route that accepts the post request. And then it retrieves the JSON data containing an image and an ID. And then it stores the data. And then the image is then decoded from base64 format into a NumPy array using OpenCV. And then it calls the do prediction function, which basically detecting the image for any objects. So if there is an identified object, the details of the object appends to the objects list. So the details include the label, which is the type of the object, the accuracy, which is the precision of the object detection, and the rectangle, which is the coordinate of where the object is in the image. And then this list will be returned, and then from there, it returns the ID and the object detected in the image into a JSON format. And then I set up the port into 5001. So the second one is the Docker file. So the Docker file contains all the commands required to build the Docker image. And I want to highlight a few things here. First is the requirements.txt file, which contains all the dependencies as can be shown here. And then the YOLO tiny configs folder, and then the object detection file is also copied to the Docker image. And then the expose 5001 port on the container. And lastly, the command to run when the container is started, which is running the object detection file. So now Kubernetes. So how I install Docker and Kubernetes is I just followed the week 4 lab task 1. So I installed the Docker first, then I installed the Kubernetes using kubeadm. And these are the versions of the Docker. And this is the version of the Kubernetes. The networking module of Kubernetes I use is WeaveNet because it is one of the most mature networking modules. And these are my cluster nodes. As can be seen, there is one master node and there are two workers node. The master node has the role of the control plane. And the age here is just how long the node is up already. And these are the internal IP address of each nodes. So now this is the deployment YAML file. This is the Docker image I made um, from my local machine, and I uploaded it to the Docker Hub. And the container port here is 5001. And I also set the limit here, 512 for the memory and 0.5 for the CPU. Now this is the service YAML file, and I use node port here, and I set it to 30003. And I set both of the port and the target port to 5001. This is how I built the Docker image. So I'm building a Docker image from my local machine. So I log in first to the Docker Hub, And then I built the image using this command. I specified the architecture here because ARM64 and AMD64 has a different architecture. And I make a tag of the image, and then I push the image from the Docker, and then I pull the image from the Docker Hub to the Kubernetes clusters. So these are my VMs in OCI. As can you see, there is one master node and there are two worker nodes. And these are the corresponding public IP addresses. And the CPU count is 4, memory count is 8. And these are my security list configurations. I added the configuration protocols for Kubernetes. For example, here is 6443 is for the Kubernetes API server, and then there's also 2379, 2380, and the 10,000s. And the 30,000s here is for the node port, and these three is for the WeaveNet, and 8089 is for the locust. So now this is the list of the pods. As you can see, it shows that the deployment works. Now I run my test file from my local computer to show that the service is also working. As you can see, it works. And now I'll show you the logs for the pods. As you can see, it's also working as expected. Now I run the locus command from the master node. So the locus file basically get all the image from the input folder and turn it into a JSON format and then send it to the web service. And as you can see, there's a request and there are no fails. Thank you for watching.